Well, Peter Khalil, welcome. You come to Parliament, unlike other newcomers, with a bit of experience in this building in an advisor capacity and others. What difference in coming as an MP? Is it that sense of greater responsibility?
I think you nailed it right there. It's very, very different. And it really only sunk in when we sat in the chamber that you realise the responsibility, the honour it is to represent a community in Wills, in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. And it really does hit you the importance of that and the obligations and the duties that you have as a representative for those people.
Now, as you find your feet and the Parliament is fully established, policy and committee work will follow. Are we right to assume that you would want to draw on areas of knowledge and sink your teeth into foreign affairs, foreign relations, intelligence, security?
No. I'll tell you why, Greg, because we had some really good advice at Poly School, and that was about broadening your horizons as a new MP, really getting to understand different policy areas. So I'm very, very interested in the environment and climate change policy, in migration policy, and also in education and healthcare, because these are the things that matter for the people of Wills.
Just on migration, I think you've been expressing some views about threats to multiculturalism. We have the Pauline Hanson factor alive in this Parliament. Do you fear a disintegration of unity around multiculturalism?
I do have that fear, and I think we have to be ever vigilant to protect and defend the multicultural model that we've built up in Australia. It just doesn't keep going on its own. It's through the goodwill of people and the education and understanding. And there's a bit of demagoguery going around Western democracies at the moment. We've seen what's happening in the US with Trump. But it's the old three-card trick, Greg. It's the same trick whether it's Pauline Hanson or Donald Trump. It's pick an angry group of people, say that you're angry as well or angrier, and then blame a minority and say they're at fault, mix in a dose of fear and say that they're out to kill you or get you as well, and then say you'll fix it. And it's very simplistic and it's very dangerous, and it causes divisiveness within communities, and that's something we have to be constantly vigilant about.
It could also be very real, couldn't it? This sense of anger, because we see it in Brexit, we see it in the US with Trump, and this goes to the question of globalisation and the economy. If you're unemployed, you are going to harbour those angers, aren't you?
And that's a really important point. The demagogues kind of take advantage of what is a genuine fear amongst the population, and there are a lot of people who've lost out from globalisation. Just in the seat of Wills, we've got a lot of people who are looking at unemployment and high levels of unemployment because of the closure of the car manufacturing industry in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. And so these people are losing out, and they are genuinely upset, they're genuinely disenfranchised, they're genuinely fearful about the way the world is going.
So do you come at this with a weariness of innovation and modernisation and those sort of mantras that we hear, let's face it, from Malcolm Turnbull and others? Is the answer government intervention and taxes?
Well, it's all very well to talk about innovation and all of these fancy words, but the key here is making sure that the government actually looks after these people, provides them with opportunities. Now, not everyone who's worked in a Ford factory after 25 years can become a barista or a sort of a startup app maker guru. They need to be retrained. They need to be retooled and reskilled and given opportunities in other parts of the economy. And Labor's been very, very committed to that. We've got a fund that looks at boosting education and training for workers that are losing their jobs. We didn't win government, we can't implement that, but we think that $800 million should be invested in helping those people find a future.
All right, now not to typecast you, and you've expressed a view to break out of national security, but you did mention Donald Trump. We had Kim Beazley, the former US ambassador, suggesting last week that he would trash the structure of our alliance relationships. Do you actually believe he poses that much of a threat?
I think he is very dangerous, and he's already been dangerous. He's from the pronouncements that he's made, a lot of people were laughing early on, but this is very serious. As a presidential candidate to make these types of statements, it already has caused problems, and it is fodder for some of the groups like ISIS and others who could utilise that in their propaganda. So yes, I think he is very dangerous. Look, I think Hillary Clinton, obviously the polls, it's very early, still 80 days odd from the election, she's ahead, but it poses a real risk to our alliance structures, yeah.
All right, well, your formal swearing in is approaching, and Peter Khalil, I'm sure we'll talk to you at much greater length during the life of the 45th Parliament. Thanks,
Greg. Thank you for having me on.